something to criticize. At my anniversary party, which was meant to be a celebration of my marriage with William, Ellie decided to announce her pregnancy. It was clearly her way of shifting the focus onto herself, and while I tried to be supportive, it felt like yet another instance where she tried to overshadow my significant life moments. The very next day, things took an unexpected turn when Ellie accused me of poisoning her food during the party. This was not only shocking, but deeply upsetting. After some investigation, it turned out that the real culprit was her boyfriend John, although the exact reasons behind his actions remained unclear. This revelation added another layer of complexity to our already strained relationship. Navigating our family dynamics has always been challenging. My father remarried Matthew when I was 18, introducing Ellie and later our half-brother Mark into the mix. While Mark is a wonderful brother, the tension between Ellie and me has been a constant presence. Despite my efforts to foster a better relationship, Ellie's envy and resentment towards me have only deepened over time. Ellie has often felt sidelined in our family, especially by our dad, who admittedly has shown me more affection and support. This favoritism has been a source of contention, fueling Ellie's feelings of injustice and neglect. Matthew, ever the protective mother, has consistently sided with Ellie, exacerbating family disputes. My dad, preferring to avoid conflict, has mostly remained neutral, which sometimes feels like indifference. Throughout the years, I have built a successful career as a business owner, which unfortunately has only widened the gap between Ellie and me. She works as a marketing manager and frequently voices her frustrations about perceived inequalities in opportunities and achievements within our family. Despite these challenges, I have always aimed to be supportive and inclusive, but Ellie's persistent negativity and attempts to undermine me have made it incredibly difficult to maintain a harmonious relationship. In trying to manage these complex family relationships, I've learned that some rifts are harder to heal than others. While I remain hopeful that things can improve, recent events like the false accusation and the continual lack of acknowledgement for my efforts have made me reconsider the dynamics of our interactions. It's clear that achieving a genuine and supportive sibling relationship with Ellie may require more than just patience and understanding. It's incredibly draining and disheartening when someone turns a challenging situation into something even more negative. My experience with infertility has been one of the most excruciating parts of my life. 5 years ago, my husband William and I decided we were ready to start our family, filled with excitement and hope. However, things didn't go as planned. After a year of unsuccessful attempts, we consulted a fertility specialist who diagnosed me with a condition that severely impairs my ability to conceive naturally. Despite numerous treatments, medications, and even undergoing IVF, our efforts were in vain. Each failure felt like a deep blow, emotionally battering both of us. We had always envisioned a large family, and the repeated disappointments strained our relationship, often pushing us to the brink of despair. The emotional weight was sometimes overwhelming, casting shadows of hopelessness over me. Our family was initially supportive. My father tried to offer support in his way, though he's never been adept with emotional matters. Matthew was proactive, always ready to help with whatever we needed. Even my cousin Ellie appeared sympathetic initially. However, her empathy was short-lived. It wasn't long before she began making subtle, hurtful remarks. Once, she offhandedly commented on how fortunate I was to focus on my career without the burden of children, a remark that stung deeply, especially knowing my deep desire to be a mother. It seemed as though she relished in my pain, which was deeply wounding. Ellie would often speak of her own future plans to have children, almost as if taunting me with her ease of conceiving when she decides it's time, while knowing full well my struggles. It felt both cruel and intentional. Ellie has always sought attention, sometimes through exaggeration or outright deceit. She's had a history of minor fabrications, like feigning illness to skip obligations only to recover miraculously when convenient. Recently, she started dating John, who seemed like a stable presence that could potentially influence her positively. However, I've noticed she might be pushing their relationship too quickly, towards marriage and children. which is concerning given her past tendencies to seek validation through competition, often with me. Her behavior has continued to be a source of tension. She often complains about her job and how she's treated unfairly, which makes it hard to sympathize, given her penchant for playing the victim. I worry for John, hoping he sees the signs before it's too late, though it's not my place to intervene. Our struggles and Ellie's behavior culminated last weekend during our 5th wedding anniversary, which also served to announce the expansion of my business. We hosted a large dinner party, inviting family and friends, despite my reservations about including Ellie. I hoped it might be a chance for reconciliation, or at least a peaceful evening. Thankfully, the night proceeded smoothly until the very end, which allowed us to focus on celebrating our milestones amidst the challenges we've faced. During our celebration for our business expansion, Ellie unexpectedly stood up, apparently poised to make a toast. Instead, she announced she was pregnant, 5 months along. The room fell silent, and her boyfriend John looked completely taken aback, as if he was hearing the news for the first time. The whirlwind of emotions I felt was indescribable. Shock, hurt, and anger, all at once. Here I was, having yearned to share such news myself after our lengthy struggles with infertility, and Ellie chose this moment to overshadow our announcement. Despite the intense emotions boiling inside me, I managed to maintain my composure. I congratulated her, masking my true feelings, while William offered a reassuring squeeze to my hand under the table, sharing in my upset. We had intended this evening to be a celebration of our hard work and successes, not Ellie's pregnancy reveal. After the initial shock, I excused myself and retreated to the bathroom to collect my thoughts and stem the tears. It was our special night, and she had turned it upside down. Ellie's actions seemed especially thoughtless, knowing the emotional journey William and I had been through. Yet, this was typical of her, always needing to be the center of attention, regardless of the consequences. The next morning, while William and I were trying to focus on the positives from the evening, Ellie appeared at our doorstep, visibly upset. Without invitation, she stormed into our living room, accusing me of deliberately making her sick at the party. She was convinced that I had spiked the food out of jealousy, demanding to see our CCTV footage to prove her suspicions. Her allegations were absurd. We had the food professionally catered, and tampering with it was out of the question. As the confrontation escalated, Ellie threatened to involve the police and press charges. William attempted to defuse the situation by suggesting her symptoms might be just morning sickness, but she was adamant that foul play was involved. Feeling cornered, I agreed to show her the CCTV footage, hoping it would calm her down and prove my innocence. We watched the footage together, which clearly showed a normal evening with guests enjoying themselves. No evidence of any tampering. Yet, Ellie remained unconvinced, nitpicking details and insisting on her narrative. Her refusal to see reason was frustrating, and her threats to escalate the matter legally were alarming. I felt trapped in a twisted nightmare, unsure of how to prove further that I was not at fault. Ellie's determination to portray me as the villain was unwarranted and hurtful. Now, I find myself pondering the best course of action. Should I continue trying to reason with her, or should I prepare for the possibility of legal action? I'm left feeling confused, hurt, and unsure of how to navigate this tumultuous situation. I never expected to uncover anything significant, but I was determined to clear my name and move past this whole ordeal. While reviewing the CCTV footage from our party, something startling caught my eye. There was a moment when John, Ellie's boyfriend, was standing by the drinks table. It was subtle, but I noticed him slipping something into Ellie's glass when she wasn't looking. I replayed the footage multiple times to confirm what I saw. It was undeniable that John had tampered with her drink. Shocked and confused about his motives, I knew I had to confront him directly. I called John and asked him to meet me. He sounded apprehensive but agreed to come over. Upon his arrival, I wasted no time showing him the footage and demanding an explanation. Initially, he tried to deny his actions, but the undeniable evidence from the footage left him with no escape. He eventually confessed that he had spiked Ellie's drink with Plan B. He explained that Ellie had been pressuring him for a baby, falsely claiming she was on birth control, which led him to panic and act impulsively to prevent a potential pregnancy without confronting her. The revelation left me speechless. I was furious and disgusted by his actions, but I knew that Ellie deserved to know the truth, despite how devastating it would be for her. I called Ellie and asked her to come over, still under the impression she would confront me further about the alleged food tampering. However, when she arrived and learned about what John had done, her initial reaction was sheer shock, followed by vehement denial, suggesting I could have doctored the video. But as we watched the footage together, the undeniable truth set in, and her shock turned to fury. She erupted, verbally attacking John and throwing objects around in a rage. In the heat of her meltdown, Ellie shockingly admitted that she had fabricated her pregnancy to manipulate John into staying with her, fearing he was close to leaving. She believed that faking a pregnancy would force him to commit fully to her. I was utterly astounded by her confession. It was all a calculated lie, a desperate attempt to secure her relationship, but now it had spectacularly backfired. Even after her confession, Ellie turned her anger towards me, accusing me of ruining everything by revealing the truth. She claimed that if I had just kept quiet, she could have maintained her lie and everything would have been fine. I was appalled by her attempt to twist the situation, making me out to be the antagonist after all her deceit. The situation escalated further when my father and Matthew arrived, having been alerted by Ellie's frantic call en route to my house. They walked into a scene of complete chaos, with Ellie still lashing out at John. Matthew immediately sided with Ellie, accusing me of orchestrating the drama out of jealousy, refusing to see the facts even as I tried to explain. My father, after reviewing the footage and hearing John's admission, was deeply disappointed in Ellie's actions. He confronted her about her dishonesty and manipulation, marking a rare moment where he sided with me over Ellie, prompting a fierce argument between him and Matthew. The family dispute left me emotionally drained. What started as a celebration of our business achievements and anniversary had spiraled into a nightmarish family drama. Now, with the family divided and the potential impact on my business reputation looming over me due to the spreading rumours, I find myself lost on how to navigate this tumultuous situation. Any advice on handling these complex family dynamics and protecting my personal and professional life would be greatly appreciated. It's understandable that no one wants to be associated with a scandal, especially one involving serious accusations like drink tampering and faking a pregnancy. I reassured my concerned friends and business associates that everything was under control, but inside, I was really worried. The last thing I needed was for this drama to affect my professional life. As for Ellie, her reputation has suffered significantly. People who were at the party, especially those who witnessed her announcement, are now questioning everything about her. Some mutual friends have distanced themselves, and she's been unusually quiet on social media, a platform she typically loves for the attention. It seems like she's retreated from the public eye. Family dynamics have become even more complicated. John ended his relationship with Ellie soon after the truth came out. He was understandably upset about being manipulated into a corner. Ellie, of course, blames me for their breakup, saying that if I hadn't revealed the truth, they would still be together. It's typical of Ellie to deflect blame instead of taking responsibility. My father is deeply troubled by the whole situation. He's always had a soft spot for Ellie despite her antics, but now he's considering distancing himself from her, which I never thought I'd hear. This has put a strain on his relationship with Matthew, who continues to defend Ellie vehemently. Things between them are incredibly tense, and I worry this might lead to more serious issues in their marriage. With all that's happened, I've even thought about taking legal action against John for what he did. I've consulted with a lawyer, who confirmed I have a case if I choose to press charges, but also warned it could get messy, with potential countersuits for defamation, since the incident has become public knowledge. At the same time, Ellie has been threatening to sue me for emotional distress, claiming that by showing the CCTV footage and exposing her lies, I've caused her severe emotional trauma. My lawyer has advised me to take these threats seriously, and we're exploring options for a countersuit. but the idea of going to court is daunting. Matthew is fully on Ellie's side, even pushing my dad to take legal action against me, which is just insane. Thankfully, my dad isn't entertaining that idea, but the ongoing tension is driving a wedge between him and Matthew. He's been staying at our place more often to avoid the stress at home. In an attempt to salvage our family relationships, my dad suggested family therapy. He's desperate to mend things with Matthew and is still holding out hope that we can somehow repair our relationship with Ellie. I wasn't keen on the idea, but agreed because it meant so much to him. Matthew reluctantly agreed, but Ellie flat out refused at first. Eventually, she agreed to one session just to hear everyone out. The therapy session was a disaster. Ellie was hostile from the start, playing the victim and accusing me of ruining her life. She insisted that if I hadn't interfered, she and John would be happily planning their future. Matthew defended Ellie throughout, even suggesting I should have kept quiet about the CCTV footage to avoid embarrassing Ellie. My dad tried to remain neutral, but lost his patience and told Ellie she needed to take responsibility for her actions. This caused a major argument between him and Matthew. After the session ended in chaos, my dad looked defeated and apologised, wondering if it was time to accept that things might not get better. It was heartbreaking to see him so downcast. Since the disastrous therapy session, things have only gotten worse for Ellie. I heard she lost her job due to erratic behaviour and has started spreading rumours about me online, accusing me of sabotaging her life and manipulating footage to make John look bad. While most people who know the full story aren't buying it, a few seem to believe her, which is hurtful. My dad is beside himself with worry and has tried reaching out to Ellie, but she's not responsive. Matthew is furious with him for not supporting Ellie more and blames him for pushing her away. Their marriage is hanging by a thread, and I fear it might not survive this turmoil. I've considered cutting ties with Ellie, but it's complicated because she's still family. Despite everything, part of me still cares about her. I've started exploring legal options to protect myself from the slander she's spreading. My lawyer advises sending a cease and desist letter, but I hesitate to escalate things further, even though I can't let her continue spreading lies about me. After everything we've been through, the prospect of sharing our pregnancy news was filled with a mix of emotions. William and I were cautious about who we told initially. My dad was absolutely overjoyed when we broke the news to him, and his support was unwavering. Matthew's reaction, however, was more reserved. Although she seemed happy for us, there was a noticeable distance, possibly due to the lingering strain from the situation with Ellie. Amidst these complexities, William and I focused on the positive developments. We began preparing the nursery and dreaming about our future with our new baby. This was a significant and joyous milestone, particularly after our long journey with infertility. Although the fear of potential problems hadn't entirely vanished, we maintained our optimism. When it was time to share our news with the wider family circle, we opted for a small and intimate gathering. We invited only our closest family members and friends, my dad, Matthew, Mark, and a few others. However, we made a conscious decision not to invite Ellie. Given the past drama, we felt it was safer and less stressful to exclude her from this event. The gathering was filled with nerves but also excitement. After dinner, William and I stood up to announce our pregnancy. The response was overwhelmingly positive. My dad leapt up to embrace us, visibly thrilled, and Mark was excited about becoming an uncle. Even Matthew managed a smile and offered her congratulations, though her happiness seemed tempered by recent events. A moment of awkwardness arose when Matthew inquired if we had informed Ellie. The tension in the room was palpable as everyone awaited our response. I explained that we hadn't yet told Ellie, given the complexities of our recent interactions. My dad showed understanding, while Matthew appeared conflicted, perhaps wanting to suggest that Ellie should have been included, but holding back, sensing the timing wasn't right. Despite this brief discomfort, we ended the evening on a high note, with everyone toasting to the new addition to our family. It felt like a turning point, a step towards healing and moving past the turmoil. However, as news tends to spread quickly within families, It wasn't long before I received messages from various relatives congratulating us. The positive outpouring was wonderful, yet I knew it was only a matter of time before Ellie would hear about it. True to my suspicions, Ellie found out through mutual friends. My dad called to warn me that she was upset about not being told directly and might confront us. That evening, just as we were settling down, Ellie appeared at our doorstep, visibly furious. Ellie wasted no time expressing her anger. She accused us of deliberately excluding her and attempting to erase her from the family. Her accusations were harsh, claiming that we were flaunting our happiness in her face, especially after her fallout with John. I tried to explain our reasons for keeping things private and our plans to inform her in our own time, but she was unyielding, interpreting our actions as a personal attack. The conversation escalated quickly. Ellie insisted on being involved in the baby's life as its aunt. William and I had already agreed that while we wouldn't cut her off entirely, we needed to establish firm boundaries to maintain our peace. This only intensified her anger. Ellie threatened to disrupt our lives if we excluded her, prompting William to intervene and ask her to leave, warning that we would consider legal measures if her threats continued. After she stormed out, William and I were left disheartened and knew we had to make some difficult decisions. We informed my dad of the incident, and while he was saddened, he supported our decision to set boundaries. Matthew, however, reacted differently. She urged us to reconsider, arguing that Ellie was just struggling and that isolating her could worsen her situation. I tried to explain that we were not severing ties completely, just prioritizing our family's well-being, but Matthew seemed unable to grasp the extent of Ellie's toxic behavior. Ultimately, William and I decided to proceed with our plan to minimize contact with Ellie, involving her in our lives only when absolutely necessary. We also enhanced our home security as a precaution. This situation has been incredibly challenging, but we remain committed to our family's happiness and well-being, navigating these complex dynamics as best we can. It's not the scenario I envisioned, but prioritizing the safety and well-being of my growing family has become essential. Meanwhile, the relationship between my dad and Matthew has grown increasingly strained. My dad has been spending more time away from home, either staying with friends or visiting us. Matthew is trying her best to keep everything together, but the stress is visibly wearing on her. I'm not sure what the future holds for them, but I hope they can find a way to work through their issues without it leading to a complete breakdown. For now, my focus is on my pregnancy and preparing for the arrival of our baby. I'm striving to stay positive and keep the family drama at bay, but it's challenging when it feels like everything is hanging by a thread. I just want to enjoy this special time without constantly worrying about the next family crisis. William and I welcomed our beautiful baby girl Mia a few months ago. She's absolutely perfect. The birth went smoothly, and both Mia and I came through it healthily, which was a huge relief after all the stress during my pregnancy. William has been an incredible father, fully involved in everything from changing diapers to managing late-night feedings. This experience has strengthened our bond even more, and I'm so grateful to have him by my side. As for the rest of the family, things are still complicated, but manageable. My dad has embraced his role as a doting grandpa and visits almost every day to spend time with Mia, especially given the ongoing issues with Ellie and Matthew. Matthew, to her credit, has made efforts to be more involved. Although there's still some tension between us, she's trying to be a good grandmother, and I'm meeting her halfway for the sake of peace. Now, about Ellie. After our confrontation a year ago, we maintained our distance as planned. Initially, Ellie didn't handle it well. She continued to lash out online and made several unannounced visits. However, a few months ago, Matthew convinced Ellie to start therapy, and to everyone's surprise, she agreed. I didn't have high expectations, but it seems therapy is genuinely helping. My dad says Ellie has been attending sessions regularly and is even beginning to recognize some of her past behaviors. A few weeks ago, Ellie reached out with an apology. It was a simple message, but it seemed heartfelt. She acknowledged her actions were driven by hurt and jealousy and mentioned she's working on bettering herself. She didn't ask for forgiveness, only expressed a hope that we could rebuild our relationship over time. I responded cautiously, appreciating her efforts and stating that any future relationship would have to rebuild slowly and on my terms. So far, she has respected that, which is more than I had anticipated. Ellie also landed a new job and appears to be improving overall. She's not entirely back to her old self, but she's showing signs of maturity I never expected to see. I remain cautiously optimistic, but still vigilant. Trust won't be rebuilt overnight, and I'm not ready to fully reintegrate her into my life, but I'm hopeful this could be a positive beginning. Thank you all for the support and advice over the past year. It's been an unbelievable journey, and I'm thankful to have had a place to share it. I'll keep updating if anything significant happens, but for now, I'm looking forward to enjoying life with my little family and seeing what the future holds.